Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads
Radio.
Sackheads
Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
Into the silo.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Hey.
Hey.
Welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show.
Thanks.
Sorry for the delay in starting the show, if you will.
What delay? I will not.
But today is 420, and respecting other people's goals and wishes.
We're not talking about smoking weed, are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just going to do everything a little bit slower tonight for the people.
Okay.
Just in case we have a couple listeners who may partake, because in some states it's perfectly legal.
Are we talking about Hitler's birthday celebration, or are we talking about marijuana?
That is today as well, isn't it?
I think so. It could also be the remembrance of Columbine.
Oh.
Right?
Well, okay, if you're going to go that route. You're going to go that route, that's fine too. Yeah, you know...
Yes?
I hate when you do this, because now I don't know which one I want to jump on first. So you're just going to throw these three little tidbits out there, right?
Yes, because I like watching you spin a little bit.
I know you do.
But we're in general jackassery right now.
I know, but... I know we're in general jackassery.
So let me tell a story.
By the way, I sent out an invite to Kurt Schilling that if he wanted to come be an analyst for us...
Perfect.
Because we're a Patriot Network. And
we can't pay him.
No, we can't pay him anything. But
yeah.
I don't think Kurt needs the money. I think he just enjoys the sport. So
I think you should throw it out to him, see if he'd like to call in and come on our show.
I'll send it to him right now.
Yeah, because we are going to be talking about that topic, as well as First Amendment issues. SHR versus ESPN.
Dude, can you imagine if we stole Schilling? Can you imagine if we got Kurt Schilling for nothing? If he was like, yeah, no, this is just going to be fun.
Yeah, you guys are great.
How freaking funny. First of all, for me, I would be starstruck. And I don't get starstruck often. I was telling somebody this earlier today. I was fortunate enough to be in contact with Tonto today, and something I'm going to bring up later is a great scholarship funding going on that Tonto's involved in, and I want to talk about that. But I was talking about... I've met some famous people over my time, and I don't get starstruck very often.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't appreciate or respect what some people have done. It's just I know they're people.
Right.
And more often than not, they don't want people to be starstruck around them just because they want to be normal people. And who can blame them? Even the people that are, not everybody. There are some screwballs out there that are just completely elected as president and love everything to be about them. But there are some people out there who just want to do their thing and kind of go home and be cool about it. And I can respect that. But as I was talking to Chris today, and I started moving on and doing other things, and it shocked me that in the back of my head still, I'm like, yeah, I was just talking to Chris Paranto.
Mm-hmm.
Like, living American history, living bad, and obviously why he's part of American history what led to it is horrible, but his involvement in it is absolutely astounding, and all those guys, obviously, in Benghazi. But just that, I don't want to say starstruck because he's not a star per se. Hero-struck, I guess, would be a better term for it. But I guess it's kind of, it'd be like meeting Chesty Puller back in the day, or Audie Murphy, somebody like that, where they've done some amazing things in service to our country. And words alone can never express how grateful most of us in this nation are. So I digress. But I think Curt Schilling, for me, on a different level, would almost be the same way. Just because of what he did with the Red Sox, the bloody sock, that whole year of winning the series, just the grit. And then, obviously, he's a conservative. He believes in the Constitution. He does some great fundraising stuff. He does great awareness for a lot of great causes. And I think he's a good human being. And so, if we actually somehow got Curt Schilling to come be an analyst for us for the Goose Egg, because that's about all we could afford to pay him, I could buy him coffee.
Right.
As much as he wanted, within reason. And by as much as he wants, I mean, a couple days a week here and there. But yeah, I just think that would be awesome. You're like, oh yeah, who do you guys have in your network? Oh, we're on there. The Exceptional Conservative, Reaver of Common Sense. A sports show is Curt Schilling. Just stuff like that.
Right.
I just think it would be badass. But anywho, so yeah, I do want to. It's just amazing to me how fortunate we are with Chris specifically, but some other people that we've been fortunate enough to meet over the time, and it's really kind of cool. And that's one of the other reasons why I enjoy doing this show, is to meet these people. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, obviously, is another person. And there's some other great people that we've had. Lieutenant Randy Sutton, the former Vegas police lieutenant, who's now a huge advocate for law enforcement, who started a radio show, and it's not on our network, but if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, it's called Police Stories. Really, really good. Gives you a good idea of what goes on with those folks. Trying to get it on the network, and, Lieutenant. But it's really good. I also want to wish the second best newsman in the business a happy vacation. He's taking a couple weeks off. Well-deserved. Dan Butcher, of course, High Plains pundit.
That means, and if the world knows that, which obviously now they do,
right? Because
you just announced it, then no news is going to happen. Like, I'm pretty sure Putin just grounded all of his aircraft, called all the just sit tight.
Well, what do you mean Butcher's taking time off? This is just tight. Send the bosom.
We need that scene from Downfall where Hitler just goes off, like when his Xbox got logged off and stuff. And just Butcher's taking a day off, taking 2 weeks off vacation.
What do you mean he's taking time off?
Just,
he needs to be on the front with the stories.
We could do a good
Heinrich. That was
everybody who is not part of SHR clear the room.
How do we expect it to operate daily? That was actually an amazing movie.
I
love all the. I appreciate you bringing that up, man. I love if you go on YouTube. There's a whole.
They take them down all the time.
All the time.
Because nobody has license for this particular part of the movie.
And I was reading a thing. So to explain to everyone what happens is it's obviously translated via text on the screen.
Right. So Downfall is a German movie. It's German. It's won a bunch of awards. Amazing. The guy that plays Hitler is amazing. Does an amazing job. And it's taken from the diary of Hitler's secretary, basically during the last few weeks of the Reich, and what was happening in the bunker and everything else. Mm-hmm. And just you have to read subtitles. Sorry, Ag.
Bruno Ganz is the name of the gentleman who plays
it's all subtitled. It's all in German, but excellent movie. Very well done. And some folks went out and made, and I saw this movie. I don't know how long ago was it.
Yeah,
it was years ago.
I think I saw it 2006, 2000. I didn't see it when it was first out, but I caught it.
No, because we talked about it,
Yes.
and we were like, "Wait, you saw that? Wait, you saw?" Yes,
I caught it after the fact. I wish I had seen it sooner because it was amazing.
but there's some good joke scenes, but you have to like Google or Bing or whatever.
Right,
Go
so
to like
You flash forward to resubtitle it.
Yes,
And the things that people have utilized this for, the bunker scene is the best, where Hitler has essentially been told in the movie and via the diary that all of his forces are done. He's losing. The war is lost. He feels that there's a giant conspiracy for an incompetence, a combination of things. People intentionally not listening or unable to perform. And as a result, he Hans, I think it was
Gruber. That's a different movie.
Different movie.
Okay.
Does an amazing job, but the famous bunker scene has been retranslated on the subtitles so many times. Everything from Kanye West interrupting what's her name at the Video Music Awards, to
Jesse Owens wins the Olympics.
Jesse Owens winning the Olympics.
Xbox loses his Xbox Live subscription, which has to be my favorite.
Right, and they're just ridiculous. And
there's even ones that somebody did. It was somebody from the Highway Patrol.
Yes,
did some too about. Oh gosh,
and it really is funny. And so what had happened is when it first started popping up on YouTube, the producers and director Oliver Heichspiegel is his name, started working to get it off because it wasn't licensed content.
But it's funny.
But it's funny. But because.
And if Schnitzel had a sense of humor, he'd think that shit was funny.
And originally, what had happened is he was Schnitzel Hirschbiegel. That's his last name, Oliver Hirschbiegel.
Wiener Schnitzel. I don't know. Volkswagen.
Joe Bagels, we'll call him Joey Bagels. Ollie Bagels. So Ollie Bagels.
He's gone from German to Muslim
to Joey Bag of Donuts.
to Irish.
But
or to Italian.
But either way, what had happened is over time, I think they realized the amount of respect that's actually getting is that so many people have found that. And it's caused a resurgence of people watching the movies and really going back and watching it again. And I saw an interview with Bruno Ganz, who said, at first it was really weird because just after the movie came out, people started recognizing him.
As Hitler?
As the actor who played Hitler. He's like, but they would come up to me and ask me to start quoting lines from the movie to them.
Dude, that's amazing.
He's like, and I've had this mustache for years. He's like, it's the traditional German mustache. He's like, all these things, right? So, and then he said the first time he saw the
parodies.
The parodies, thank you. He hated them. He hated them.
Really?
Only because he's really big into history, and he felt that it's one of those things that he doesn't want the message to get lost.
So it was disrespectful to Hitler.
Tomfoolery, to history. But then he realized what had happened is more and more people started going back and actually watching the movie as a result.
Yes.
And learning, and then he found the comedy in it. And he said he's like, I don't understand why people would waste their time. He's like, I'm not of that generation. He's an older guy. He's like, I'm not of the computer generation. There's so many beautiful things that you can be doing in this world outside your house, he said. She's like, I can't imagine why people would sit in front of that computer and think of scripts to rewrite a script. He's like, but then I started watching some of them. He's like, and they're funny. There's no doubt they're absolutely hysterical. He's like, and I've had kids come up, he's like kids, teenagers, or early 20s, the people who really come up to me and start asking me to do some of the parody lines. He's like, and I'm like, what in the hell is going on? He's like, I poured my heart and soul into this one part that's my whole life has been.
He won some awards, I think, also for that. It was amazing.
Hitler.
Yep.
And he said, you don't know the amount of work that went into it. He's like, it's really hard to look forward to portraying a monster. Mm-hmm. He's like, and it's not like a monster movie, but it's an actual monster who really lived and millions of people died because of his actions. He's like, and when you're an actor, you want to be excited about the role you're going into. He's like, the only thing I could really do to keep going is tell everyone that this is a history lesson. And by performing the hell out of Adolf Hitler, I would be teaching generations of people what had really happened. So, it's funny that duality that comes with a lot of things. Hey, This is going to be the biggest role in your life, and everyone's going to know who you are. One little exception to that rule. You're playing Hitler. You know, like, oh, well, I guess it's great. I'm forever going to be known as Hitler guy. And he is.
He is. But I think people nowadays understand that he did such a phenomenal role that
Right.
it's not like he walks around the street wearing a swastika on his arm, goose stepping, you know.
Well, and you well, I can't think of I can't remember the actor, but he's the English guy who did Gangs of New York and Lincoln, and how he would get into the roles that he was playing and live that part. Like he's a method actor. He becomes that person. Oh, what's his name? Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
They said Daniel Day-Lewis is one of those. When he was playing Lincoln, he lived as Lincoln from the time he picked up to the script until they were done filming. Like his life, he lived in like a tent in the woods. Like all these things to try to be in the mindset of Lincoln. He never broke character, even off the set. All this other stuff. Can you imagine if Bruno Ganz was that sort of a method actor?
You could be Goring.
He just
Sorry.
you just think about like, oh wow, he's really into the part. Yeah, what part is he playing? All of a sudden, he comes walking through the room, drinking a cup of coffee, reading the newspaper, and Hitler costume. And,
Dude.
The mustache.
Somebody says something sideways to him, and he orders their death.
Some gaffer on set. It's funny, but
And that would be problematic if everyone else was also method actor. They actually carried out his orders, right?
Can you imagine that trend on YouTube or whatever, Yahoo, the dangers of method acting? 45 people were killed today for disagreeing with the Fuhrer, who is actually Bruno Ganz. No, I digress. But yeah, so, it's definitely comical. And there's so many great movies about World War II out there. One of my favorite parts of history to read about and learn about, and from different sides. You know, I always think back to Eastwood with Letters from Iwo Jima and Flags of Our Fathers. And what a brilliant idea to write the same war from two different perspectives. Same thing with Hitler here and the Germans and downfall.
So one of my movies, 12 O'Clock High.
12 O'Clock High.
I have family members that flew B-17s over Germany.
Yep.
And then my grandfather was a Pearl Harbor survivor.
Yep.
Fought in Guadalcanal, and so and obviously people know my family's from Hawaii, so
it hit home.
It hit home, yeah, and just the history there is amazing.
Patton is another great World War II.
Great World War II movie.
And even some of the not necessarily based on a true story, the Dirty Dozen, stuff like that, but. The reason, what's so funny is I was having this conversation.
Enemy Below.
Enemy Below is a great one.
Das Boot.
Das Boot. And what was the one about the Russians and the sniper? That was another great movie.
Oh, yeah, Enemy at the Gates.
Enemy at the Gates. And I was talking the other day with somebody, and we were talking about
Ed Harris played the German sniper.
Yes. Ed Harris is a great actor, too. I like Ed Harris.
I liked him in Milk Money or whatever.
The Rock was another great movie he was in. But, we were talking about where this country has gone and like how so many movies were made about World War II.
And it's a thank you to the special thanks to
everyone
men and
who
women
served
of the armed forces.
Band of Brothers.
They were feel-good movies.
Yep, all the different movies, Saving Private Ryan, all that other stuff.
Well, even the cartoons.
Yeah.
Looney are banned
Tunes,
now.
you can't even find them anymore.
Disney.
Yeah, Disney.
Or Donald Duck, the Germans marching by.
Yeah, we played that.
Yep.
Right in the Fuhrer's face was the song.
Yeah.
So then you go to like Korea, and Korea was like the pre-Vietnam, not a very popular war, and not a lot of movies or anything came out of that. MASH was probably one of the most popular television show and a movie made about the Korean War, and then you got into Vietnam, which is we're starting to get into that whole politics running wars versus generals running wars.
Yep.
And you had so many negative movies.
Oh yeah.
And there was, don't get me wrong, there was some movies that have been made that were very supportive of our troops that served in Vietnam.
Rambo. What?
But you had a lot of negative slants to a lot of the movies.
You can't say that. Real blatant bigot strikes again. Are you kidding me right now?
Are you even?
Are you kidding me right now?
You know,
a Vietnam movie, a lot of negative slants.
dude, why would you even do that?
Why would you do that?
You knew what I meant.
Yes, I do, and hence I'm calling you out on the air for it.
Jerk. But
really, right after you say it, you high five yourself, and I'm the jerk.
But you started to see like the media turn on the soldiers and politics becoming more important.
Yeah, I mean, look how they were
actions.
treated. Look how they were treated when they came back home.
Right. And
sad.
And fortunately, history is starting to look better on the Vietnam War because you realize that all the news folks at that time were blowing up the few smaller
Hanoi Jane.
Yeah, negative. Was everything perfect?
How was she
in
not
Vietnam?
tried for treason?
I don't know. How was she not catapulted off the? It doesn't matter. The things that the news back in the day harped on and everyone thought was just such a common occurrence that our soldiers were these monsters.
Yeah.
When you didn't realize, now we know how the news is, right? Now we know how they blow up these negative things into these huge, huge stories, but they're minuscule, right? There's a little. Remember Abu Ghraib? Yes. Was that absolutely professional? No. But there are a whole bunch of terrorists who have more than likely murdered and killed kids and women and all this other stuff. And you had
you had a picture taken in your underwear.
Yeah, exactly.
Poor you.
Meanwhile, we have state representatives over here who are sending pictures of their wieners to people. So, and we're talking about,
funny. That's
how we should be upstanding citizens.
It was named after it.
Yeah, it's
too,
weird,
right?
But then, even when American Sniper came out, how many people went negative with that?
Yeah.
And the Chris Kyle story.
13 hours?
Well, in 13 hours, I think you had less.
But there were people that were already talking before that movie even came out.
Yes, I agree. But if you looked at American Sniper versus 13 hours, American Sniper, I mean, there were people who were calling Chris Kyle just a bigot and a racist because, it's almost like we were talking about last week. We were talking about racial profiling in Chicago and everything. Well, look at all these Muslims that he killed, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. He's in a war zone where all the combatants happen to be Muslim. Of course he's going to be killing Muslim people.
Right.
That's just his job.
Right.
It wasn't like he woke up and went rogue all by himself in a Muslim nation and started murdering Muslims left and right. No.
Right.
He was in a military.
It's not a hate crime.
Right.
It's a war.
This was his job.
Well, hang on a second. Our soldiers in World War II, they were just killing Germans.
And Japanese.
That's
left
all
and right.
Yeah, all the time.
And then wait, because when you went into North Africa, they were killing Muslims down there because the Muslims were aligned with the Germans.
Yeah.
So, and then it was ridiculous. 13 hours, there were some people throwing out negative, but here's the difference. And I thought about this when it came out, and I thought about this recently again, too. How the entire country feels is the truth behind 13 hours and what had happened with Hillary and whatnot, based on the fact that the negative was minimal. You had a few pundits
because there was pushback.
Right. And there were a few pundits who try to make it into a political movie.
Yep.
And then
it wasn't.
But there was a lot of pundits on the left and the right who turned around and said, this isn't a political movie. This is just a recount of what happened. Yeah. You may not like what happened. And you may not like who dropped the ball. And they didn't even really get into that.
Nope, they didn't. They made it about the incident itself, not about the politics.
Right. Zero Dark 30 was a much more political-based movie than 13 Hours was.
Wasn't it an Obama cheerleading piece?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a pro-Obama movie.
Was it put out by the White House?
It should have been. But you didn't see the mass. There were some people, obviously. You're always going to have some people, but you didn't see the mass negativity versus 13 Hours because people knew. I think people know what the real story is.
You spent all this time on Columbine, segued into war. Or on Hitler and segued into war. You didn't even touch on Columbine or pot. Just so you know. Threw three things out. You hit one of them and then went on a tangent. I didn't even get to tell my story from coffee.
Go ahead. We'll wrap up the first 30 minutes with a good coffee story.
Mostly because it goes back to General Jackassery, which you didn't really get us a chance to get into. You just
I'm on fire tonight.
You just kind of dove right in.
I know.
Head first. No warm-up.
I know.
You got to preheat the oven. It's kind of like foreplay, Sean.
have no idea what it is. Go
I
on.
know. Hence, I'm educating you right now. You'll thank me later. So Sean and I have known each other a long, long time. And we used to go to this one particular coffee location, and they knew both of us, and but they knew Sean. Sean hung out there a lot more than me. When I was able to come by, we'd meet there maybe a few times a week, maybe once a day, maybe a couple times a day. Sean lived there, I think, and he orders a certain drink, and it was called a Boston.
They called it a Boston. Just for the record.
I could literally walk in with Sean or walk in by myself. He was outside or whoever's ordering, and I'd order my drink and I'd order a Boston, and they'd make it. They knew the size. They knew everything. It was everything. I'd call it a princess based on what's in it, but they called it a Boston. So we're going to another location, same coffee place, but different location because ours closed down, and he tells me what he wants, and it's I don't know. He goes on for about 2.5 minutes with his drink, and I'm trying to memorize this, and I was like, it's not like I can just go in there and order a Boston. That was so much easier. And he was like, yeah, I know. And so I walk in, and the person who's working behind the counter, she looks up, she recognizes me, kind of but can't place me, but she kind of knows me. And, hey, how you doing? I go, I live in the dream. And she goes, I love that. And in walks Sean. And Sean walks in, and he says something, calls me a smart ass. I don't know, says something.
Smart ass.
And she goes, oh my God, Boston, and jumps up. And I look at him. I go, apparently I can't order a Boston here. And she goes, you want a Boston? And she rattles off his drink order. And this place has been closed, the other one's been closed for
6-8 months.
6-8 months, yeah, it's been a while. And I was just like, wow, really? Finally, she places me. She's like, oh, big nose with Boston, that's you. Okay, Sean said that. I didn't. She didn't say. I said that.
Nothing you can do about it. I'm just, I'm famous in some circles. That's all I can really say about that. I'm a big deal, and you don't realize that you're. It was
just so bizarre. God, it'd be so much easier if I could just go and order a Boston. It's not like I can just go and order a Boston. I walk in, hi, I'll have a Boston. Oh my God, yeah, Boston. And of course, then the other 3 workers who've never met him before, I have to translate because they're looking at me
and I didn't get charged either tonight for it,
which you never did before. Sometimes I'd get mine for free. You all the time.
Membership has its privileges. That's all I can say. Don't leave home without it.
Your rainbow flag. So,
oh, good times. Good times. It was nice. It's doing the show gives you a little notoriety, and I'm very much appreciated. And of course, being the generous person I am, when we got it for free, I did what I always do, and I looked to you and said, tip her nicely, and walked away. So,
right.
Make sure you throw a couple extra bucks in there for me, would you?
Yeah. It's kind of like that scene from Christmas Vacation.
Yeah. I'm Cousin Eddie.
Yeah. And if there's
Clark.
if there's a little bit left, get yourself something real nice.
Clark.
Yeah. That's Sean.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And her name is actually Snow. And she will tell you she was raised by hippies.
No.
But thank you to Snow for the free coffee tonight. And probably going to be listening to the show, she said. So pretty happy about that as well. We're up against a break. When we come back. Oh.
Stuff.
Which bathroom to pee in? That's the big question of the week. That's going to be the question of the year. I think it was summed up best by somebody on the internet who said, after 7 years of Obama, we don't even know which bathroom to use anymore. So we want to get into that and everything, all the jackassery that goes along with it. And, yeah, it'll be fun. Good time. Stay right here on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Where's my commercials? Clint, what did you do? What did you do?
I just moved the button.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Cav was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show, live in the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, it's a little weird when Ken had the night off tonight, and normally Ken leads into us. And kind of gets us charged up. At least kind of gets me charged up. I love listening to Ken's show prior. And when he's not on tonight, because the exceptional one, by the way, had a speaking engagement to speak to a bunch of young people, because apparently he's a big deal. He doesn't want to admit it, but apparently he is. So, it's just hard to not have like your pregame ritual going into the show and get warmed up. But we'll find a way to get through it. North Carolina bathrooms and all the above. What a strange world we've come to live in. So North Carolina a couple weeks ago passed essentially, everyone's calling it an anti-LGBT law, but it's an religious freedom law, if you will. It keeps people from using bathrooms in which they're not the gender that they choose. They're the gender that they're born with.
That they are, right.
Which,
forcing people to actually be the gender that you are.
Right, which is just bizarre. And I will even stipulate the fact that if you go through the surgery, that's up to you. If you go through the surgery and everything's cut and dumped, okay. All right, okay. I don't necessarily 100% agree, but I can even see the argument there of like, hey, I don't have twigs and berries anymore.
Right.
And I sit down.
I'm not going to victimize your daughter.
Right.
Or
your son.
Or your son.
Because,
right.
Females can be sex offenders too.
Yeah. I should use this. I don't have the parts.
And it's so funny when you deal with the left, and they're always the party of if we can save one child. We hear that with gun control all the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
If we can save one child, why don't we do this? It doesn't matter when you talk about more children drowning in pools and all this other stuff.
We need to outlaw those.
Right, exactly. But then you turn the page to this transgender argument that we're into in this world. Now, the left loves its science. I mean, that's one of the things, especially the atheists, but you hear it all the time. Like when they really start to put the hammer down, they love to go to science. They try to use it for climate change or climate, whatever you want to call it, climate control, blah, blah, blah. But when you have the conversation about transgender folk, and you're like, hey, when you're born a certain way, your DNA has compiled to create you as a male or a female.
Right.
Until you change that through science, you are what you are. Now, if you feel different, if you don't feel like that's your individual internal kind of struggle, and that's up to you. I can't tell you. But for the rest of us who don't deal with that, and more importantly for children,
yes,
this is where the rubber kind of meets the road. You're born a male, and you're growing up and you feel like you're a female. That's on you, right? So why should the public...
It's an internal struggle, and this isn't a judgment for it.
I don't care, and I don't mean that in a negative way.
Right. That's your struggle.
Right.
That's why should my daughter,
right,
who is younger, be subjected to a grown man coming into the restroom when if she's going through, things that young ladies that are growing up are going through, and to have now this guy come in the back because he feels or he says he feels a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
How is that fair to or justice for a kid?
Right.
Who doesn't understand, who doesn't have that concept, who is struggling with things.
And you used a really good word there, justice. And
right.
Anyone who the gist of the word justice is the fair and equal treatment of others.
Right. Shouldn't my daughter be able to have a safe place to use the restroom?
The same way. And listen, is that to say that every person who identifies as transgender is a monster that's going to attack children? No,
not at all.
By no stretch of the imagination.
Not at all. But we're talking about the ability for, look, your rights cease when they affect the rights and liberty of others.
Yes.
So if your liberty to self-identify as whatever now interferes with somebody else's liberty to use the restroom of the same in peace, without fear, without that, then why does the...
Well, let's go back to the gun control argument.
The comfort of one... Well, it's interesting because I actually want to touch on that. Did you see this week a judge ruled completely wrong? Judge Barbara Bellis, Superior Court judge, she ruled that the family of the Sandy Hook Elementary School families, some of the families that were killed, could go forward with a lawsuit against the gun industry.
Right.
Against the manufacturers of the Bushmaster rifle that was
used in the Sandy Hook shooting,
which I think is Remington Arms.
Yes, it's Remington.
So they're suing Remington for weapons, and Congress passed a law in when was that? 2005, basically protecting gun makers from lawsuits that do not from lawsuits saying that they're not liable when their firearms are used in a crime, absent some major ridiculous thing, gun manufacturers aren't liable for things. And the angle, and this judge allowed this to go forward.
No more.
This judge said that 2005 law does not prevent lawyers from arguing that semi-automatic rifle is a military weapon and should not have been sold to civilians.
See, and that's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous, particularly, and this shows you the ignorance of this judge, because the civilians at the time of the American Revolution were better armed than the rifle the firearm that was issued was a smoothbore musket.
Right.
There were private citizens with rifles.
Yep, Green Mountain Men specifically.
Far more accurate and everything else that they were bringing to
better
the fight.
Range, better everything.
Civilians had better weapons than the military was issued. So ridiculous. But I saw this story this week and it kind of dovetailed into what you were saying with the whole gun argument.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. So let's have the gun control argument for a second. They always talk about getting around. They always bring up gun shows, right, and how people get around certain gun laws by buying through gun shows, and the gun shows purchase and sales are not as tight as they should be, and they're exempt from certain blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Well, you push that back to this transgender argument, and all you're doing is giving people who may have ill intent a walk around to legally be inside of a female's restroom if they're a male and a predator, perhaps. You're giving them before, right? 6 months ago,
right?
Even if all of a sudden a dude walked into a women's restroom and started taking a leak, the police would show up.
Right.
And if they were committing a crime while they were in there, you now have a case. Hey, you're in a place that's clearly marked female. You're a male. Blah 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 blah. You can go on and on and on.
Right. You're a registered sex offender. Like what? Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, and we will start talking about the screwball scientist or psychologist who's now saying that pedophilia is a way of life and a mindset versus a mental illness. And that came out in the last 2 weeks, or it may have been a little bit longer than that. But it's interesting how that came out just before this. So now you've given that person a reason to use that restroom, right? Let's say they are a convicted sex offender.
Yeah.
And now you have two arguments. You have this LGBT thing of, hey, you know what? If you identify as a female, you can use a female's restroom. So now they're inside, and you have this shrink who's saying, oh, wait a minute. This isn't a criminal act. It's more of a mental illness. And you start putting these... You're going to have people that may be able to defend themselves from a horrific act. And they may not get off scot-free. It may be knocked down to some sort of like battery charge or ridiculousness, accosting or something stupid. But at the end of the day, you are building a defense for sex offenders to go in and use this poorly. When I say if we could save one life, and the left loves to throw that out there, let's do that. And again, I am not saying that anyone who identifies as the other gender than what they were born is an animal. As a matter of fact, I don't care per se about that person, whether they're a bad person or not. It's the animals that I'm worried about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, if somebody wants to identify as whatever, that goes along the same lines where we talk about people that want to engage in same-sex marriages. If there's a church that honors that or whatever, or so who cares?
Right.
I don't care. If somebody wants to identify as a female or a female wants to identify as a male, I don't care.
Right.
I really don't. What I care about is like you were talking about, right? If my kids are in that restroom, and now you're affecting other people at that point.
Yes.
Particularly adolescents and kids that may be in that area who are now get confused, don't know what to make of this. They're struggling with their own sexuality and things going on and everything. There's so much going on at that age that I think it could be detrimental.
Yes.
Particularly to younger ladies. And that's really what this argument is about. It's not about hate. It's not about us judging somebody because of a life choice they make. That's their life choice, whatever. But pushing that agenda on other people. Do you think this would happen if something bad happened, God forbid, to one of the elected representatives' kids that pushed this through?
Not at all. All of a sudden, there'd be some change.
Think about this. How's this for a twist? Because I could see this happening, particularly in California. So, somebody who identifies with the opposite sex, not really, but identifies as the opposite sex, goes in, tries something. Somebody defends themselves, hurts this transgender person. who now claims that it's a hate crime.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that happening.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Nothing would shock me with this anymore. And again, it's ridiculous. We talked about this when California passed that all public schools will have gender-neutral restrooms, right? But it isn't gender. It isn't passed that the school has to create a second bathroom for people who identify as transgender, whatever you want to call it, right? It is all bathrooms will be accepted as essentially transgender, and if a child feels and identifies as the opposite sex, they're welcome to use that. You've had a couple schools open specific transgender bathrooms, and but
now they're singling them out.
Right. Well, if they open that door, everyone's going to know.
If you were in high
school, if they walk into a dude's bathroom and they were a chick, or vice versa, everyone's going to know anyways.
If you were in high school, wouldn't you identify with as a female all the time?
I've said this time and again, and people can scoff, laugh, call me a jerk, whatever. I'm not saying as a grown man at 26, 27 years old that it would be acceptable, but you think of a 17-year-old boy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And what 17-year-old boys think of? Girls.
Yeah.
All the time, 24/7.
Oh, no, I think of myself as a girl.
Right. Oh, but that's all they really think of.
Right.
So now, and I'm not saying that they're not criminally liable if something were to happen. However,
but they get some material for use later on.
However, the odds of a 17-year-old boy doing something stupid because he now has access to something.
Yeah.
And then
pictures.
I love it when people talk about entrapment all the time. This is almost like government entrapment. There's something 17-year-old boys can't help themselves with. I'm not saying it's an excuse for them to criminalize somebody else, but they're not necessarily using it with criminal intent. They
just want to see naked girls.
They just want to see boobies.
Yes.
And I know it's not right, and I know they should be controlling themselves. I agree. At all times.
But anybody who was ever a 17-year-old boy, that's a lot more easier said than done.
Exactly.
That's like asking a 15-year-old girl not to be such a.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right?
So now you have the fallout, right? Oh, North Carolina, you passed this law. You have all these movie companies. Oh, we're not going to do business in North Carolina. You have places like City of San Francisco and other places who've never done business in North Carolina for much anyhow. We're not going to allow our city funds to fund any trip to North Carolina now.
Who cares?
Who cares?
If I was North Carolina, I'd be like, I don't care. We can. That governor was weak.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That the Republican governor that signed it?
Yeah.
I hope he loses his re-election bid. I hope another a conservative runs against him in the primaries, kicks his ass, and then wins the governorship.
Right.
Because that douchebag caved.
You have, and it's so funny to me, the hypocrisy with some of these people on the left.
Because if I was in North Carolina, I'd be like, hey, movie companies, go back to California. Let me know how those tax rates are.
Yeah.
Because anywhere you're going to get a good tax rate, it's probably going to be conservative and saying the same law as me. So go spend your money.
Right,
go ahead.
have fun.
Yeah, take
have
your money.
Fun.
Go. Bye.
But I love the hypocrisy of the left who turns around and says, hey, you have to respect transgender people and their way of life. You must respect it. It's an individual choice. Well, what about the individual choice of a state under the 10th Amendment? To
No, that's different.
Right, exactly.
That's different.
No.
Yeah, but see, we're
or my
choosing...
individual choice to not accept that as being okay.
No, you're choosing because you're choosing to hate.
You're choosing bigotry.
Right.
You're choosing hate, and that's not acceptable in this point of view because it is different than how we feel.
Because if you, if you weren't a bigot, then you would agree with us.
Right. If you weren't so mindless and shallow. No. I you crazy religious conservative. No, I'm talking about science. Science has proven that the DNA. Haven't you ever heard X chromosome, Y chromosome, all of these things that creates you?
Science proves that that's a dude.
Right. You guys love to throw around the science card. Boom, let's have a science conversation. No, you're just a bigot. Son of a bitch!
Right.
You're losing to win with these people or vice versa. You're winning to lose. It doesn't matter, you're losing.
I actually want to bring the science part up because it's interesting you said that. I want to talk about now science as it relates to the sale of human tissue from these abortion.
Yes.
This came out today too, and it just I know we're getting off topic, but this kind of made me think about this story that I read where they're having hearings on the House or in the House essentially, trying to find out if people profited over the sale of fetal tissue.
Ugh.
And this is based on, the videos and so forth that came out. So the hearings is on the pricing of fetal tissue by the House Select Investigative Panel on Infant Lives. First of all, interesting name, because these are aborted fetuses, yet it's the Panel on Infant Lives. Anyways, I digress.
It just goes to show you that it doesn't matter. As long as you name it something.
I digress.
Yeah.
I digress. So one document that actually was brought up showed that there was a company's promotional brochure for abortion clinics that, quote, was financially profitable, and for a, quote, partner program that fiscally rewards clinics. And there's another company that they sell tissue, quote, ranging from the fetal to the adult. There are parts that there's a drop-down menu on that you can order fetal parts on a different company's website. Now, these are fetal parts, but listen to the names. A list of available parts include brain, heart, lungs, tongue, eyes, blood. That sounds to me like a person.
Right.
If those are that's not a blob of tissue.
No, it's not.
You're talking about a brain. You're talking about a heart. You're talking about lungs, tongue, eyes. You are naming specific body parts.
Right.
And if it's a blob of mass, if it's a blob of tissue, if it is not a human being, then you would not be able to identify brain, heart, lungs,
They
tongue,
would not exist in a blob
eyes,
of tissue.
right? Because it's not yet formed. It's just a fetus. It doesn't have those parts yet. So there you go, Left. You're talking about science. It's not a baby. It's a fetus, really?
Well, and here's the other thing.
Their arguments don't stand up against logic.
No, well, it's not meant to. Logic doesn't have any role in this. If logic had role in this, we wouldn't be discussing whether guys could go take a squirt in women's room.
Right.
And you get back to this whole, anytime you can identify specific body parts and identify sales in the same category, and you're supposed to be a medical professional, and you oftentimes hide under the guise of protecting children or potentially saving them from a lifelong of grief and suffering, blah, 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 blah. You're a friggin' monster.
Look, and I'm not talking about rape or incest, I'm not talking about health of the mother or health of the baby. What I'm talking about
as birth control.
I'm talking about being used as birth control. I'm talking about, women, it's a right to choose. Let me tell you something. You chose when you chose to spread your legs, right?
There was a right to choose before.
And guess what?
Outside of rape, incest, and all the other
No,
ones.
exactly. And
I just want to clarify before somebody cuts that.
And I clarified that, right? And I clarified that. But guess what? Men also make a choice. That, quote, fetus is 50% somebody else.
Right.
So why doesn't that somebody else get a right to say something?
Yeah.
Has there ever been a court case where a mother has wanted to go in and have an abortion and the father stood up and said, no, that's my baby. I want a court order to stop this from happening.
Right.
And that child is 50% mine.
Right.
Because I made a choice, too.
Well, and that's where they get you, right? Because up to a certain point, they don't consider it a child.
Exactly.
And that's the problem. That's really the problem.
But if you're having tissue sales and you're talking about specific body parts, including internal organs,
I hate to say it, it's a child.
That's a human being.
I hate to say it.
Now, unless they're talking about like dog heart,
right,
or like pig lungs, but they're not.
Right.
They're talking about fetal tissue.
And Mary in the chat room. By the way, you know what? I'll wait a minute on this because this is such a weird subject. I don't want to bring it up right now. But Mary in the chat room said there has been cases like that and the fathers have lost. Trying to go in and probably trying to get a court order to cease and desist, blah, 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 blah. Because of Roe versus Wade, They've ruled that whatever's in the woman's body is all hers. And again, we go back to...
But only up to a certain point, right? Because it's weird, because if you have a baby that's so far along and the mother dies and the kid dies and somebody caused that, it can be 2 counts of murder.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
There's even laws, I know there's a law in Massachusetts and probably in California in other ways, where if you assault a pregnant female, it's an enhanced crime because she's pregnant and it's now a volatile or a viable child who is weak, and it's almost the same as abusing a kid now. It's a very specific, all they have to do is prove that you had knowledge she was pregnant and you hit her. And it's a major felony. And rightfully so. I mean,
right.
Rightfully so.
Absolutely. If you're hitting a pregnant woman,
right, you deserve to
you're a douchebag.
Be buried under a prison, in my opinion.
I don't care what you think she did to piss you off, unless she points a gun at you. That may be a different story, right?
But self-defense is not a crime.
Absent self-defense.
Right. And one of the other arguments when you talk about, the whole abortion thing, and I've brought up, you defunding Planned Parenthood, and a lot of times the argument is, what about all the other good things they do? Let's throw the abortion topic to the side for a few minutes and talk about all the other services that they provide. And they provide testing and education.
Oh, yeah, Margaret Sanger, she nailed it.
Right, exactly. I always tell everyone to look for Margaret Sanger before you start defending Planned Parenthood. Oh, but we progress and things change and we think differently.
Really? Then why do you give a Margaret Sanger award?
Well, and why don't you look at where a majority of the Planned Parenthoods are located? But the other funny thing is, one of the things that they claim they offer is free mammograms for inner city people.
Uh-huh.
And I saw a map the other day. It said mapping of Planned Parenthood
mammograms
facilities qualified and licensed to provide mammograms. And amazingly, there's one in the entire country. I think it was outside of Washington, D.C.
Really?
Yep. And there's a couple thousand Planned Parenthood locations.
All in California?
No, amazingly, they're in a lot of suburban areas. Inner city and suburban areas. Very shocking to me. So, when we go down this whole road about gender choice, science, abortion, science, right?
So what did Kurt Schilling say?
At the end of the day, all Kurt Schilling essentially said, if you want to know what his specific quote was, I have it here somewhere. But the long and short of it is Kurt Schilling essentially was like, hey, dude, if you're a chick and you go in the boys' room, or if you're a guy going in the girls' room, it's not good. And it shouldn't happen that way. So he posted a picture of a guy. I know I only have 2 minutes left.
He should not have done that in his official capacity as an ESPN host.
It's kind of a funny picture, but it's this really kind of chubby guy in a women's skirt with like a belly shirt cut out as well as like the chesticles area. And he's wearing this horrendous blonde wig, and it kind of looks like me if you put me in like a latex dress and a blonde wig. And he quoted, hey, let him in to the restroom with your daughter, or else you're a narrow-minded, judgmental, unloving, homophobe, or bigot, I think was the last word. That's all he said. Who needs to die? Sorry, that's right. You're a racist bigot who needs to die. And that caused him to get fired. Now, and then he followed up the tweet with, a man is a man no matter what they call themselves. I don't care what they are, who they sleep with. Men's rooms are designed for a penis. Women's not so much. Now we need laws telling us differently. Pathetic. That was his comment that got him fired from ESPN because they said, and I quote, that it offends people of different backgrounds and beliefs, and they will not have that at their network. Which I don't know who he singled out in ESPN specifically and said, I don't like you because you're transgender. I think you should die because you're transgender. Anything like that. He showed two opinions. One, he believes that transgender bathrooms should not exist, or the ability for, and two, the hypocrisy of the left of saying accept everybody, or you're this monster bigot who should go away and die.
They don't accept him.
Right.
Now he had a post before where he was pulled from a major league game when they were covering of the Little League World Series because he posted comparing Muslims to Nazi Germany.
Right.
Now wait a second. Nazi Germany committed genocide. What did they just say that ISIS is doing? Oh yeah, genocide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weird.
So either way, it's just, and
did Kurt Schilling get back to us on the tweet, by the way?
Not yet. I'm hoping. I'm sure he's got nothing else to do but sit at Facebook and wait for my messages.
Well, he doesn't now. He got fired. It's not like he has a job anymore.
That's a good point. Well, he still does a couple other things, but
yeah.
And again, all of this, they ignore all the amazing things that Kurt Schilling does for our soldiers and our troops because they
don't care about those guys though.
Yeah, what he does for Lou Gehrig's disease, etc. It's just disgusting. So,
look, we're up against a break.
When we
come back, I want to update real quick on the story where about the Russian jet flying. By the way, would that happen to us coming out of dinner?
Crazy Ivan.
It was Crazy Ivan. We were like the destroyer, and two pigeons came right by us, like buzzed our heads on each side of us. It was ridiculous. It had to have been like Maverick and Iceman.
Yeah.
It was like they just buzzed the tower.
And then they called you comrade. It was weird.
Right.
Hey, we'll be back with the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Oh, come on.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying cop for the stupid bro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on SHRmedia.com and HighPlainsDailyNews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Two quick things. before we get back to the topics at hand. Number one, I want to say happy birthday to Mary Brockman.
Happy birthday,
one of our
Mary.
favorite listeners, and we love her to death.
Yes, we do.
So it is her birthday today. I believe she's 29.
Are you sure? I thought she was turning 30.
Was
this
it
year.
officially 30 this year?
That's what I thought.
I thought 29, but who am I to say? It's so hard to tell because she looks so damn great.
She does.
29, 30, doesn't matter. We love her.
Happy
to death.
birthday, Mary.
Happy birthday, sweetheart. And then another great story. The Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University started a scholarship to honor Glenn Doherty, who is one of the CIA contractors that was with Chris Pronto, in Benghazi. They've already started a scholarship. It's up to $3,500. And obviously it's a scholarship fund, right? They're going to use it to help further
Hence
the
the name, scholarship.
And if you go through and you read, if you go erau-news.com, and I'm going to post this, the whole article on SHR Media later on so you can get the direct quote. It's an amazing story. It's just a great way to honor Glenn Doherty and turn what was a tragedy into a positive. And hopefully, because of his sacrifice, others will have a better chance at education and furthering themselves. And it's just a beautiful thing. So if you want to donate, you can email smith39@erau.edu for more information on how to donate. But I give props to the college Republicans who've already raised over $3,500. And I think the goal is $14,500, and then it will start to transfer into an endowment, and a lot more can go. So give it a shot. Check it out. Like I said, it'll be on SHR later on, but erau-news.com. Type it into your browser right now and just save it as a favorite and go back and read about it after the show. And just, if you have a chance, donate, even if it's $10. We talked earlier this evening about people who serve their country and how they should be honored, and Glenn certainly, former Navy SEAL who perished trying to save others in Benghazi. So if you have a chance, just donate. Coming up in the last 30 minutes, we talked a couple weeks ago about doing a commercial for the cab of White Mamba. And we said, just like now you get into Vegas and New York and some other ones, when you shut the door and audio recording starts playing,
right?
Hey, welcome to the city and blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. We want that for Mamba, for an MP3 that he'll be able to play when people get into his cab. We agreed to do two. One of them very Sackheads-like, the other one very much informative, if you will. The problem is we don't know a lot about the greater Jacksonville area.
Right.
So we're probably going to make shit up.
Right, absolutely. Which would be great. It would just confuse the hell out of people.
So we're going to do that live on the air, and then I'll mix some sound in.
Right.
We'll send it down to Mamba. The problem...
welcome to Jacksonville, world's greatest ski resort.
Right. And if Mamba's in chat right now, he can private message me some highlights if he needs for specific sites around the area or information.
Right,
that
like
he wants
any like say volcanoes, like active volcanoes.
His contact information,
right?
Mamba. Go ahead and start a private message with me in chat, and we can get some info on it. I want to make sure that we're good.
Earthquake zones?
Earthquake zones. Flood zones.
Yeah.
Flood zones. Gun-free zones.
Gun-free zones.
All that stuff. So, Mamba, get me some info. Let's get this set up.
Us.
Well, yeah, but you don't chat, so he's going to send it to me. And
I'm chatting with you right now. What
next
are you
break,
talking
you're
about?
going to say to me, "Oh, what does he say? How did he?" Blah, blah, blah,
blah. I'm chatting with you right now. Look at me. Look at
Clint, I have a big nose. Anyway,
I'm Sean. I get my coffee. Everybody knows who I
am. Oh, look, Ken McClinton finally made enough time in his day to come chat with us in the chat.
Oh, wow. Hey, welcome back from vacation, Ken.
The guy takes one night off in like 25 years.
And we give him hell.
We give him hell. The man who is nothing but supporting and loving to us.
Right.
And I'm going to call him out mid-show.
You're just a jerk.
He's one of the broadcasters on our network. One of the flagship shows on our network. And probably the sweetest guy on the planet.
He is. Not probably. He is. You're just an a-hole. And you're doing it because he's black. Because if he were a white guy, you would not be calling him out like this.
Yes, I would.
No, you wouldn't, Sean. No, you wouldn't. And I can prove it based upon the comment you made earlier about slanted.
No.
Ken, if you missed that, you got to go back and listen. It's in reference to the Vietnam War, and that's all I'm saying.
That's all he's going to say.
That's all I'm going to say. Look, so I want to get back to Russia on a follow up. John Swiftboat or Swifty, what's it? Kerry.
Kerry.
John Kerry actually came out and grew a pair earlier. Last week. He came out and he says, talking about the USS Donald Cook that was conducting operations when one day a Russian aircraft did like a simulated attack on it, and then the following day another Russian Su-24 aircraft came within 30 feet of the destroyer. 2 days, and John Kerry came out and said that the ship, the United States Navy ship, could have opened fire on those aircraft under the U.S. military rules of engagement.
Yeah.
They talked about that the jets came in like a simulated attack profile, and that under the rules of engagement, that could have been a shoot down. Kerry made these comments to CNN Espanol in Miami. So look, that's kind of a big deal. If John Kerry, huge liberal, and the Obama administration is coming out saying, yeah, we probably could have shot that one down.
Yeah. That is a huge deal.
That's a big deal, right? So if they feel that way, then did that commander, by failing to fire, did that commander put his ship in danger?
Well, you got to think, though, we're in Obama's military, right?
So he's going to get a medal for
doing
restraint.
nothing.
For restraint.
Well, but more importantly, he would have been court-martialed if he actually did something. He probably would have been removed and court-martialed for not using his feelings in a positive way against an aggressive force.
And I think that's actually in the U.S. military
UCMJ.
Code of Justice. I think that's actually, I don't know what section it is. We'll have to find it. But I think if a commander fails to default to his feelings, then that's a court-martial. That can be punishable by death.
Yes.
Now, or if you have a chaplain on your ship. Either way.
Well, you're not allowed to have a chaplain, so
Right.
that's not going to happen.
So I thought that was interesting. And completely unrelated story, however, a Russian jet, Crazy Ivan, one of our reconnaissance aircraft.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Crazy Ivan?
I love...
Doesn't matter how many times I hear it. Sorry, I didn't mean to break character. Go on.
Yeah, no.
I'm thoroughly shocked.
It's hilarious. There was a Russian jet that came ridiculously close, again, to a U.S. reconnaissance aircraft. It was basically a militarized Boeing 707 that was operating in international airspace. This happened on April 14th. There's Air Force RC-135 flying international airspace over the Baltic Sea and was intercepted by two Russian Sukhoi 27 aircraft. Completely unsafe manner. They were flying very close to the aircraft. And so here we have
yet
another unsafe and unprofessional air intercept that could have caused an international incident.
It's a provocation.
Absolutely it is. And Crazy Ivan is running amok, and I'm talking about Putin.
Right.
As Crazy Ivan. In a completely unrelated story... there's been President Obama has called for Putin to maintain the ceasefire. It's very, very fragile in Syria right now. President Obama called him on Monday, and Russia said, "Look, Look, we don't need ceasefire. Look, I have make 2013, take 2015, put them together. We make 2014. It's a good car. So look, we move our stuff. We're gonna switch all our firepower to Aleppo. It's it's good. It's good ceasefire. It's a good deal for you. We move.
Good ceasefire.
It's good. It's like cars we make. It's salvage. It's good. So Russia again is doing its own thing. They're ignoring numerous requests from the Obama administration to stop backing the Syrian regime. Over 250,000 people have been killed in this civil war, and everything's been shifted shifted to the north. So it really, and I'm not surprised.
Why? Why aren't you surprised?
Because Putin has zero respect for the United States right now. Zero respect. In a completely unrelated story.
Again.
The U.S. has found that some researchers have found that North Korea is actually intensifying its testing of ballistic missile technology, and that they're producing plutonium.
No.
That there's signs that they are producing plutonium.
Impossible. I say. Impossible.
In a completely unrelated story, North Korea tried to fire a new intermediate range ballistic missile, and it blew up on launch.
I love this story. I love this story. Because you know who is at the head of this.
Yes.
Bro. And you know, we will fire the nuclear weapon and show the capitalist pigs how we are in charge. Sir, we're not even close on this thing. No, light the firecracker. No, sir, I would love to, dear leader. But all we did was take 6 50-gallon drums, tape them together, and fill it with gasoline. And fire when ready.
Dear leader, I don't know if you know this or not, but you know those Testis rocket engines. It's a cardboard tube and a plastic parachute. I promise you, it's really not gonna fire the missiles.
My favorite part about this is just the fact that he's still gonna go.
Dude, I picture his fat roly-poly little ass sitting in a chair, feet up. Just ridiculous, can't reach, just sitting back with that look on his face, right, just kind of that smile and those eyes,
just right, so friggin' confident.
Oh yeah, just so over the top, oozing gravy and just
gravy and cheese,
cheese
just flowing out of him. Just gravy and cheese. Oh, yeah. It's just magical. I don't know how else to say this.
So the missile supposedly has a range of about 2,500 miles. Or 3 yards.
The word supposedly there was the key word.
Right. Because I think the farthest it's been, it might have gone 5. I don't know. I don't know if they measure the farthest piece that landed or how far it actually went before it exploded.
Well, it has an operational range of 2,400 miles or 75 feet, whichever one comes first.
Right. It's an operational range.
Right. And I think that's what's important here.
Right. So really, it's a success. It was a successful launch.
I do have audio, and I don't know if anyone else has got this, but I do actually have audio.
Oh.
Potentially from the launch.
Now, it's unconfirmed.
I had to search the deep web to find this.
It's unconfirmed.
But Kim Jong-un, being who he is, hired a professional speaker for the countdown, and then you'll hear the failed launch when you're ready.
Yeah, hang on a second. Are you holding for a second? Okay. So last month, when North Korea said they fired 2 ballistic missiles into the sea, if you remember, we knew one blew up after launch. Fox News found that out from a couple officials. And both of those missiles were called No-Dong. Medium-range ballistic missiles.
I love the fact that that's where you went. Like, that was the important part.
Look, I'm giving the name of the missile. What's the problem?
Oh, I don't know. It's just crazy to me, No-Dong.
No-Dong, right?
That's like what we were
Now, did they name it No-Dong because the first guy that failed, like, that was his punishment?
It's just, that's something we would have named a kid in high school, right?
Right.
Hey, No-Dong!
Right.
How's your firecracker doing? Are you ready to hear the launch?
Yeah.
Okay. Now remember,
I love North Korea. Like, I don't, but they're just so fun.
Remember, at the helm of this launch, and just picture it, you have Kim Jong-un in the operational control room. The launch goes, and here it is.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Fire the missile! That was it. It was very short.
What the?
I can't say that. I can't say that was 100% from them. That it was taken from North Korea, but I can't argue it either.
Right. No, we can't prove or disprove at this point. We're still trying to test the authenticity.
Oh, man. Any other unrelated news stories that are not related to one another whatsoever?
Yes. So all these budget cuts that are coming to the U.S. military, only 30% of the United States Marine Corps' F-18 Hornet strike fighters are ready to fly.
Oh, I can't see how this could go wrong.
You know, it's fine. You're fine. Out of 276 F-18 Hornets, 30% are ready to fly. Only 42 out of 147 of the CH-53 Super Stallion helicopters is ready to fly. I don't see how this is going to end poorly at all. Look, between Russia and North Korea, we don't need operational aircraft.
People may not understand how our our military operational plan goes, but the Marines are pretty far towards the front of when shit goes south, they go first.
Well, they go east, and they can go. I mean, they go anywhere in the globe, really.
But now it's going to take them like 15 trips to do it.
Right. Right.
I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. Thank God we're spending money on things like gender-neutral bathrooms, fighting that, all the different programs that are out there. Thank goodness.
Right.
But we can't get Marine Corps jets. And I saw the story, I think Jennifer Griffin on Fox News did the story on it, where she was talking to, they were in North Carolina at the the Marine Corps Air Base, and they were talking to the colonel, the guy who's running everything, and he's like, we're literally cannibalizing planes that have smaller problems for other planes that have bigger problems. And the plane that we're cannibalizing is supposed to be op-ready all the time, operational ready. And they're cannibalizing. This is like, folks, this is literally what the Iranians were doing with F-14s and F-4 Phantoms years ago to keep them flying. They were cannibalizing other ones with damage and taking the parts off.
Yes.
Just think about that for a second.
No, it's fine.
Think about where our military has gone at the hands of this administration.
But it sounds like the Russian bit I just did a little bit ago, right? Look, it's good aircraft. We take a 1976, we take a 1979, we put them together, you got a 1977. It's F-18, it's good aircraft. It'll fly.
The exceptional one, Ken McClinton, did point out, though, that the F-18 Hornets are actually being replaced by actual real trained Hornets.
Right,
so
which is good.
That's
which
very,
is
very good.
and it's environmentally friendly.
And there should be a plan in place. And
Look,
I very much
last
appreciate
time we screwed with the genetics of a bee or something, like nothing bad happened, right?
No!
Oh wait, never mind.
Well, how could something bad have come out of that?
Forget I said anything.
Something honeybees.
5 minutes, but I do want to get on this. There's a number of attorneys general who are putting together a lawsuit against ExxonMobil and several of these energy companies for. Remember what they did against Big Tobacco, where they went after them for lying to the people about cancer research and so forth. Big judgment, right?
Right.
They're now going after the energy industry, the oil industry, for basically this along the same lines, lying to the consumers, not about health risks, about climate change.
Now, wait a minute. Climate change...
No. They've been lying to the people about climate change, Sean.
Has not been proven
That's
science
not
yet.
true. Otherwise, they would not be taking this action.
30...
That's not true. Otherwise...
47% of scientists
so you're telling
do
me,
not agree
so you're telling
with the current climate change model being pushed by the administration.
So you're telling me that attorneys general are actually spending state and taxpayer resources and time and energy to push an agenda as opposed to actual law to protect the people?
Yes.
No, that's not true, because they wouldn't do that.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you.
However...
in an unrelated story.
We're
going to name this segment Unrelated.
Unrelated. In an unrelated story, there's evidence that some climate change groups actually have been in collusion with these attorneys general.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on. You telling me there's a flag on the play?
From environmental activists. Yeah. There were several of them at a March 29th meeting, which is the same day as a major press conference. Yeah. And one of the attorneys general even said, well, yeah, I really prefer that, we not really confirm who was at this particular meeting.
We can neither confirm nor deny the fact that it's so funny because remember when we couldn't confirm that the head of the IRS was talking to the president 115 times?
Yes. This meeting included Peter Frumhoff, who's from the Union of Concerned Scientists.
Frumhoff!
Union of Concerned Scientists. First of all, union's in the title, so there's that. And this other guy, Pawa, is his name. Matt Pawa, also gave a presentation about climate change to these attorneys generals, and Pawa litigated a case against Exxon.
Wait, how is that possible?
It's not. Never mind. Pawa asked the chief New York Attorney General, the chief of the New York Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman's Environmental Protection Bureau, if he can confirm his attendance to a Wall Street Journal reporter, and the Srolovic, who's the chief of the Environmental Protection Bureau, says, oh well, he requests that he not do that.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, so all you have to do is request?
Yeah. Now, my he quotes. He goes, "My ask is if you speak to the reporter to not confirm you attended or otherwise discuss the event."
Oh, don't be honest about what happened, because this is so much on the up and up that we need you to lie about what's going down.
Right. Massachusetts and U.S. Virgin Islands announced probes into ExxonMobil that same day. California Attorney General Kamala Harris had announced a similar probe in January. That's weird. It's sickening, right? It's like you don't even know what to say. Fox News did a great article on it. You can find it. I think the Fox News article is climate change AG's activists accused of collusion on Exxon probe amid new emails by Adam Shaw, dated April 18th of 2016. There was also a previous story done by the Wall Street Journal where they talked about a January meeting in Manhattan. Where they talked about was a key moment in a plan to unleash the big tobacco-style government probe of oil companies. So it's not that they're the first to report on this. So not the first time somebody's accused them of maybe there's something dirty going on here. But it sure as hell sounds like something dirty's going on.
Yeah, it sounds like something filthy's going on. It's so funny how Kamala Harris's name is once again tossed into that.
Weird, right?
Yeah, I heard
it's almost like she's running for something else.
I heard a disturbing story. We only have a few seconds left. You know what? I'll wait till after the break. And I want to talk about Kamala.
We have a few seconds left. I do want to say one thing then, since we have a few seconds. Did you see where the abscam agents fired off a letter to the FBI's chief? Basically said, "Hey, the bureau's reputation is on the line in this Clinton probe."
Really?
Yes, the abscam agents are the ones. It was the 1970s sting operation where they took down several members of Congress. If you remember that, basically it just made them smarter for how they do things. And they wrote a letter basically saying, hey, nothing less than the Bureau's reputation is on the line with this. And they addressed it to Comey and cautioned the outcome's going to have long-lasting implications. Here's a quote. It said, "Decisions must be made on facts alone. Much is at stake here. People's trust in the Bureau for years to come, as well as the Bureau's reputation among our allies, partners, and friends as the greatest law enforcement agency in the world." Well, first of all, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Right.
But I know what you're trying to say. That's cute.
Way to go, little slugger.
Yeah, that's cute. That's cute. Like world's greatest accounting firm. Like, yeah, I could maybe go with that, right? Like world's greatest abacus users. I don't know, but let's not do the whole greatest law enforcement agency in the world. So yeah, the abscam investigation. If you remember, that was done in the 70s. I think like 78 or something like that.
You think they're making T-shirts that say that for around the office? The greatest,
probably. Where they targeted members of Congress.
$14 in cafe press.
So yeah, there were 30 political figures, 6 House members, and 1 senator that were ultimately convicted of crimes in that investigation. There was a movie made about it, American Hustle, where Bradley Cooper played one of the agents. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where you have agents who've been there, they've done this, they've been through this, and they're lecturing. I want to know what prompted them to write this letter. Like, do they think something sneaky is in the works? Is that what prompted them to write this letter?
Oh no, get out ahead of it, right?
Right? Absolutely.
I give them credit.
Absolutely. So do I.
They know the shit show is coming.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point here. Something prompted them to write this letter. If they had faith that the Bureau was going to do the right thing, there would be no need to get out ahead of it and write the letter. Correct?
Right.
Exactly.
Listen, in the world of social media and everything news 24/7, you don't start playing defense early unless you know there's something offensive coming. And that's exactly, they're out ahead of it.
Yep.
Out ahead of it.
And I think they're concerned because I think they do love the Bureau.
Yeah,
that's why you're right. But the reputation is very important. They served the Bureau. They did the right thing in the abscam investigation, right? But they're worried.
Oh, they know.
And I thought that was interesting. I wanted to share that with our listeners.
Well, when you know what, when there's a train full of bullshit coming down the hill and the wind's in your face,
I'm going to say, "Hey, Sean, get out of my way."
Hey guys, you get the greatest law enforcement agency in the world T-shirt. It even has a place for our pocket protectors.
It's great.
Look at! I got a tactical pocket right here. I can totally put my slide rule in there. It's amazing.
The other side, no problem. I need a calculator 24/7. Goes right in. Boop. Look at that.
That's right. I even use it at home. Hey, honey, my wife wants to have sexual intercourse with me tonight. So if I give her 3.2 minutes of foreplay, followed by...
Right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello. I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying cow from a stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking, drinking, drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reverb Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network.
I'm saying it.
I like it.
I know you would. I'm saying it.
Oh, man. Coming up in just a few minutes, you're going to be a part of...
Something awesome. Just say something awesome.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Something awesome.
Yeah, something awesome. As we record live the welcome message for listener Mamba's cab that he busts his rear end to try to feed and make a decent living in an environment that's not forgiving, and with the advent of Uber and others. So we're going to try to help him out. I don't know if this will actually help, and as we agreed to, we are not criminally or otherwise liable for any hurt and service that this may cause, and or a lowering of income. So just so you know, that patent pending. So real quick though, I do want we did talk about Kamala Harris prior to the break, the California Attorney General. She's running for Senate to fill Barbara Boxer's seat because those are some big shoes to fill. And one of the things that she's done recently that I learned about is California, we have two different methods of gambling. It's not like Vegas, it's not like Nevada where you have straightforward casinos. You have Indian gaming, which are...
and we're talking feather.
Right. Native American, which we've seen all over the country.
Hang on a second.
Pop up.
You know we're all Pangean. Just stop with that native anything, okay?
We've seen pop up all over the country. Every state has them, etc. And then you have card rooms in California, which only allow card games. No roulette, no
like
slot
Old
machines.
Maid, War,
Some do actually have war.
That is awesome. Actually.
Poker, blackjack, Pai Gow poker, baccarat,
Crazy Eight,
tiles, Crazy
Slapjack,
Whist, and some other ones. And
Go Fish.
One of the things that's happened is the Indian gaming has started to target these card rooms to try to run them out of business, because they think that they're taking money on them. Now, the information I got is studies have shown that the majority of people, when they go to the Indian casinos, are there actually for the slots and not the table games nearly as much, which the card rooms don't have, but they're not leaving anything to chance. So,
actually, they're leaving everything to chance, hence the term gambling.
No, but they're the house, and it's always in their favor.
Okay.
So it's not leaving it to chance,
Okay.
trust me. Either way, so they decided that they want to be part of the political process, and they're dumping a bunch of money in Kamala Harris's, in Kamala Harris's campaign for Senate. Which is funny because seeing how our laws don't apply on their sovereign land.
Right, that's what I was going to bring up.
I do want to question that because it's very strange to me to think that that would be legal.
Is that a foreign government that is trying to meddle into...
Anywho, I agree. Strangely enough...
Because we have treaties with those people.
Shortly after the money started flowing in, Kamala Harris, who's in charge of the Attorney General's office in California, she is the Attorney General, runs the California Department of Justice and the California Gaming Commission.
Those guys are awesome.
Has all of a sudden started to review the laws that pertain to card rooms and maybe begin limiting. Now, there's a moratorium on opening more card rooms in California. You can't open another card room. If you don't have a license now, you're not going to. That's how it is. They don't care. Screw business.
Why? Is it illegal to have a card room now?
If you try to open another one, you will not get approved.
On what grounds? If the law prohibits...
They don't want to issue any more licenses.
But if the law allows for it...
89 in the state, and that's all. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So, they're just not issuing it. There's a moratorium. I'm sure it's a cool-down period to make sure that they don't flood. You know, people have gambling problems. And we can't feed into that. Unless it's...
Right, we can give them needles to freaking shoot their dope. We can do all kinds of shit. But we can't fucking let them play cards with their own damn money that they decide to freaking earn, right?
It doesn't...
We're going to give them needles to shoot up their fucking dope and give them places to go fucking smoke weed. But no, we're not going to let them play
cards.
On
college campuses. Free speech zones.
Yeah, we're going to freaking hug everybody, right? We're going to give them fentanyl and methadone and pay for all their shit. But we can't freaking let them play cards.
Right, God forbid.
Yeah.
God forbid.
That's horrible.
So, and now under the penal code, it's very specific on how Game Room operates. It involves a third-party banker. There's a lot of strange caveats into it that it was hard for me to comprehend.
Ridiculous.
And it's not the player against the house. There's a third party who kind of puts the money up. It's it's already a very difficult system, intentionally made that way. And they've made it harder. And now they may change the language even more to restrict it even further. What I didn't know is the amount of lives that could be affected. The card rooms historically pay their dealers and employees better than the Indian casinos. Their percentage of the finances that they take home is better. They just naturally make more money. It's also a very specific skill. Dealing cards and some of the other games takes a lot of talent. It's more than just flipping cards onto a table. And if you have a game called Tiles, it's even more like you're talking. It takes years to learn, et cetera, et cetera. The problem is once you close these rooms, there's nowhere for these folks to go with their skills, and a lot of them are Asian citizens because that's part of. They have to be a citizen to work in the card room.
Mm-hmm.
But limited language skills. But this is also their career.
So
and they provide a good family life, a good life for their family, and they pay their taxes out the nose.
So what does Kamala Harris have against Asians?
Nothing.
Are you sure? Because it seems to me like she's choosing the American, the Native American race over the Asian race.
I think she's pro-money.
Oh.
Versus anti.
No, I'm using their argument against them. Clearly, it's racist.
It's clearly racist.
It's clearly racist.
So it's just interesting
because Kamala Harris is of African descent, correct?
I believe so.
And we know how they feel about Asians. Get Ken on the line. Back me
Ken
up
on the
on
line.
this.
Ken, help us out. It's just very strange to me that in an economy that's already struggling, you would
and they just passed a $15 an hour raise.
Right.
Which means more jobs are going to be going away in California.
A ton more.
Yeah.
The fashion industry out of L.A. has already said that there was like 4 or 5 fashion designers that are already moving their companies outside. Gone.
Yeah.
Because
Why
of
would
the
you stay in
$15
this
an
state?
hour. McDonald's, and it's funny because
Is leaving the state.
Well, I know a gentleman whose job is he's a robotics engineer, and his company, I won't say who, is being contracted by McDonald's and several other fast food restaurants to create autonomous employees so they don't have to pay $15 an hour.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. And look, and what's driving that robotics industry and getting rid of those entry-level jobs is these whack job legislators that keep raising the minimum wage. If they didn't mess with it, we would still have those jobs available in our economy.
Yeah.
These companies would continue to employ human beings instead of spending money on automation to come in and replace those jobs.
I agree.
It's not the company's fault. It's not, but you know what's going to happen as those jobs go away and automation comes in. It's going to be those evil companies that are replacing people with automated technology. And then you know what? Then we're going to have to write laws limiting the amount of automation. You can only have 30% automation or something ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
That's my guess.
No, I agree. They're gonna make it so you have to employ people, and you have to pay them $15 an hour.
Yeah.
Or you will not get a business license.
And you're gonna lose
hand over fist.
Yeah.
So McDonald's will be charging $14 for a cheeseburger that's worth 79 cents.
Right.
It's insane. And listen, they've already gone after fast food with all these limitations on trans fats. It's already cost them more money, which is why in this state, if you go get a McMeal or whatever they call it, a value meal, you're already paying $11 for it.
And I'm not talking about even just those fast food type restaurants. How many jobs are $15 an hour? Really, I know some skilled jobs that require a 2-year degree for whatever, where people aren't getting $15 an hour.
Yeah. Oh, I trust me, I know. There's a lot of them out there, where you've put in a lot of work to get into a field. It's not, and it's an advanced field, if you will, and you're not getting $15 an hour for it. It's ridiculous to me.
To start, yeah.
So, we're going to follow that.
And what's going to happen to price points in California?
Oh, through the roof.
Right?
And so it's once again Democrats attacking free market and capitalism for $1.
And who loses? Right? Because the purchasing power of people that make more than $15 an hour is going to go down because prices are going to increase.
Yep.
Which means
inflation's going to be natural.
Right. If you're making more than $15 an hour, you're not going to get a raise.
No.
And if prices are going up and you're not getting a raise, essentially you just took a pay cut. And everybody else that was making less than that is either going to be out of a job or they're going to be making $15 an hour. And with those increases in prices, their purchasing power is not going to change. It's going to be the same. Wow, it's almost like wealth redistribution.
Well,
weird.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely.
I'm probably just thinking about things. I'm probably just imagining things. I'm just imagining things. On a feel good note, since you like to try and bring us down at this part of the show.
We got to start. Hey, we have a recording to make, so let's.
We do. I
want
one more story. The Supreme Court upheld a judgment allowing the families of victims in the 1983 Beirut bombing at the Marine barracks to collect $2 billion in frozen Iranian funds.
Wow.
So, Supreme Court 6-2 ruled in favor of more than 1,300 relatives of the 241 service members who died in the Beirut bombings. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg wrote the opinion for the court, which rejected the efforts by Iran's central bank to try to basically stave off those court orders. And the money is sitting in a federal court trust account. So Iran's bank, The United States Supreme Court, including Justice Ginsburg, gave the big F you to him.
Wow.
So,
I don't even know what to say.
Right. And what Ginsburg wrote is that the law does not transgress restraints placed on Congress and the President by the Constitution. Which is kind of an interesting point.
Wow.
Kind of an interesting point, given that there's also an executive order case
Yes.
in front of the court.
And how
right?
would that caveat...
The law does not transgress restraints placed on Congress and the President by the Constitution. The two dissenters was John Roberts and Sotomayor.
What a weird bedfellow.
Right? Hang on. We don't know if they are, in fact, bedfellows. That's a rumor and innuendo. We don't know if that's true, so we don't want to spread rumors. Where they wrote, quote, the authority of the political branches is sufficient, and they have no need to seize ours.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Like I said, I want to watch that case now about executive orders and see if she has the same tune for that.
And also the legislation that's coming that would allow families of the 9/11 attacks to hold the government of Saudi Arabia liable.
Yes.
And that was the thing where Saudi Arabia basically says, if you pass this law, we're going to sell a bunch of your assets.
Yeah, so have fun with that.
Hey, you know what, Saudi Arabia? Go F yourself. If you had a hand in the 9/11 attacks, sell our assets.
Right.
We're going to come after yours.
Right. We're gonna kick your assets into the ground.
Exactly.
If need be. And I absolutely agree with that.
All right, so we have work to do.
So as everyone who's heard the show before knows, our good friend Mamba, he's always in our chat. If he's not in our chat, he's listening to us live in his taxi as he drives around the greater Gainesville area, trying to make ends meet. Life for cab drivers is not very easy. I have a couple friends who've done it.
And we're talking Gainesville, Alaska, correct?
Florida.
So Gainesville, Canada.
Florida.
Gainesville.
Warm. Florida.
Oh, God, warm, not cold.
Right, not cold.
Gainesville, France.
Florida.
I can't understand what you're saying with that
Google
Boston accent of
Google
yours. Gainsburg.
Anywho.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg? We just talked about her.
So, anyhow. So we decided, because he's listening while people are in the back and actually giving us a little free advertisement.
Very nice.
Very nice of him. We're going to do the same for him. And as we said, we're going to create a welcome message for his fares as they enter into the taxi.
Mamba.
Mamba. And he drives them where they need to go. So,
or where they want to go.
Where they need to go. That's the rule. So we'll be back to a little bit of classical music because we're nothing but classical.
Right, we're very classy.
This particular piece is a piano.
So you're playing a penis.
Piano.
Pianist is playing it.
This is a very good point.
Thank you.
And here we go. I'm going to start the music.
So will the piano be audible in the advertisement?
Yes, because it's going to be... I have a clip that's long enough. We should get a few takes out of it.
Okay.
All right.
So the penis is long enough?
It should be.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
Three, 2, 1. Hello.
Hello.
And welcome to the Cab of the Mamba.
We hope you enjoy the music from this wonderful penis.
Listen and enjoy as you travel around the greater Gainesville, Florida area.
Gainesville, Florida, known for quite a few things.
Polar bears.
Yes, the mating habitat of polar bears.
The home of the Florida Gators.
It is the home of the Florida Gators. There's also a volcanic national park somewhere in that area.
Is there?
Yeah. Ask the Mamba.
Ask the Mamba. This is, of course, a 24-hour cab, also known as a yellow cab, or the airport taxi. And this is your best means of conveyance as you travel around this extensive metropolitan area. A couple interesting facts most people don't know about Gainesville, Florida. Did you know it's voted the most unfriendly to homeless people in all of Florida?
Did you know Gainsburg is from the Latin root word? Yes, that is from the Latin root word jalapeno,
which
means formerly part of Canada.
Correct.
Most people don't know that, so a little trivia for you while you enjoy your relaxing ride.
as the music goes on and we reach closer to your destination, if you look out the window to the right, you see that item right there?
No, not that right there. That's the wrong side. If you look out to your left.
Well, the other side?
Yes.
Which side are you on?
I'm on the left.
I figured as much, you bastard. Anyhow, if you look out the right side of the window, you'll notice several fine stores that we might be passing at this moment. And you could buy anything you want from them, really. I mean,
well, not anything you want. They have to actually have it in stock.
No rules in Gainesville.
Before you carry it.
Seriously, there's no rules. Actually,
don't say that because we might actually be liable for that.
There's a lot of rules in Gainesville.
There are a lot of rules in Gainesville. So much so that you might even be able to get a citation simply for listening to this recording.
So in order to keep you from putting yourself in further litigation and problems with the authorities, who may be enforcing the rules that kind of exist here in Gainesville, just remember, when you need a ride back, you need to call the Mamba. And nobody's going to keep you safer and get you there faster than the guy who's sitting forward and to the left with the giant wheel in front of him.
Or forward if you're sitting directly behind him.
That's a good point. He's not outside the car reaching in and driving. Correct. No,
right.
You're behind
that
the
we
driver.
know of. That
right.
we know
could.
of. He could be. He is so skilled that he could do this.
He's very talented. He's a very talented man. So when you're ready to go back to the other destination, please go and call 352-374-8484 and ask for the Mamba. Demand it. The best driver in the greater Gainesville area.
That we know of.
This has been Sackhead Sean.
And Sackhead Clint.
Of the Sackheads Radio Show. And thank you for riding the Mamba.
Thank you.
All right, now listen. That one may...
Thank you for riding the Mamba.
We may have to start over on that one. That one may need to be fixed a little bit.
Look, for a first effort, you should hear us record some
Yeah, I was going to say,
stuff.
that went pretty well.
That went pretty well. That went better than it normally goes.
All right. So we said we were going to do two. We said we
have to do more than two. We have to actually give them a decent one because that was just ridiculous. What the hell's the name of that town? Gainesville?
Gainesville, Florida. How are you struggling with this?
Who the hell's heard of Gainesville?
That's where the Gators play.
Who?
Everyone's heard of Oh,
I don't even know who they are.
Oh, we forgot to add that riding the Mamba incurs an extra fee, according to Mamba himself.
Incurs an extra fee?
All right. Let's do a nicer one.
Nicer one.
You think we can pull this off?
Yeah.
We have 3 minutes left in the show. We need to pull it off.
Yeah, we can do. Well, we can do some more afterwards also, right?
Okay. All right, let's give this a shot. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Good evening, and thank you for choosing the Yellow Cab, driven by none other than the Mamba. Hi, this is Sean from Sackheads Radio.
And I'm Sackhead Clint.
And I want to thank you for picking the best cab in the greater Gainesville, Florida area.
I would say in the greater Florida area.
I would say in the greater Southeast.
Don't be ridiculous. Now, while you're in Gainesville, be sure to check out the nation's first butterfly city,
which was in Gainesville, Florida. You will also have the home of the Florida Gators. Amazing football team, great school, lots to do while you're there.
If you're into skating, the Possum Creek Skate Park might be a destination for you to go. Enjoy some recreation, sip on coffee, watch the skaters.
Did you know this is one of the best areas in Florida for suburban living, for both college students and medical professionals alike?
Did you know that it is a natural mating habitat for the polar bear?
I don't believe that one's 100% accurate.
We're still checking the facts on that one. However, we're pretty sure that there's a rumor that that might in fact be the case.
Possibly, but not so.
But we're not exactly sure. Just because you don't see two polar bears mating right now on the hood of the cab you're in does not necessarily mean that they don't in fact do that somewhere in Gainesville, Florida.
That's a good point.
Thank
you for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
So when you're ready for your return trip, and you will have to go back to where you came from, call 352-374-8484. 352-374-8484. And ask for the Mamba, because he's going to get you back safe. For the Mamba.
We can't say that.
Well, pretty safe.
Well, as safe as he can.
For the Mamba, I'm Sackhead Sean.
I'm Sackhead Clint.
From Sackhead's radio show. Check us out every Wednesday night, shrmedia.com. Enjoy your trip. I think we kind of nailed that.
I don't know. I don't like the piano.
It doesn't matter what you like.
Does Mamba like the piano?
I'll find out for sure. But I think it adds a very, very nice tone. And listen, you're in a cab. I mean, anything can be going south at any moment. Let's be honest. Right? He told a story the other night that's pretty amazing. So you need that calming effect of it.
Calming effect?
And think, if you already have an out of control, loud, boisterous fare,
Bostonian,
then you have nice calming music to soothe the beast, or the polar bears mating on the hood.
Look,
we're done.
It might happen.
We're out of time. We're going to cut a couple other ones after the break, or after we go to commercial and the show is over. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Sackheads Radio Show live in the SHR Media Network. Check us out next Wednesday at 11 in the East, 8 in the West. Make sure you check out the great shows here. High Plains Pundit, our media partner. Make sure you check them out as well. We wish you a great Bestie week. Great. What do we wish them?
A safe night.
All right, good enough.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. But for those who are tuning in around the world to the best late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America. And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.